In the cutthroat world of competitive bodybuilding, where the pursuit of physical perfection often demands conformity and silence, one figure stands apart. He wasn't just a bodybuilder. He was a phenomenon, a force of nature condensed into a mere 5 feet 5 inches of chiseled muscle. But more than his undeniable physique, it was his voice, loud, unapologetic, and brutally honest, that truly defined him. This is the story of Lee Priest, the blonde myth, the giant killer, and the rebel who forever changed the conversation around the Iron Game. Welcome to Mass Legends.
Our journey begins in the unassuming town of Wallsend, Australia, on July 6, 1972, where Lee Andrew McCutcheon was born. From an early age, Lee was drawn to images of heroic strength, captivated by cartoon figures like Superman and He-Man. He wasn't just watching, he was emulating.
He said Pasteur was a Superman.
My mom used to tell the story that I'd always carry my sister around, and she hated it because I just pick her up and carry around everywhere, because I just like testing myself out, doing stuff, lifting stuff. I remember when I was young, I'd put the car in a driveway and take the handbrake off and just push the car backwards and forwards.
Two product to just pause one.
But behind these innocent displays of strength lay a deeply fractured family life. Lee's parents divorced when he was just 3 or 4, a result of his mother's discovery that his father was gay. This truth, initially kept from young Lee, would eventually become a source of immense pain and shape his early years.
Oh, I did at a number third age and wouldn't these changes.
I found out when I was 12 or 13 that his father was gay. I'd kept it from him all these years, which was a stupid thing to do, thinking I was protecting him. Everyone at school was calling Lee, "Oh, you're your dad, you know." And at the time when Lee started bodybuilding and he was shaving his legs, "Oh yeah, you're just going to be like your dad, you know, you're going to be a queer." The taunting and the hurt that he went through. He was the class clown because he was so hurt with all the homosexual taunts he got. And he was just getting them every day.
We have the bowl of and Java's.
This relentless bullying forged a defiant spirit. The hurt he endured ignited a rebellious streak, transforming him into the class clown, a troublemaker who found strength in challenging authority. But amidst the chaos, a new passion emerged. Without a consistent father figure, Lee found solace and guidance from his maternal grandparents, particularly his grandfather, Owen, a strong weightlifter who became his mentor.
In the cutthroat world of competitive bodybuilding, where the pursuit of physical perfection often demands conformity and silence, one figure stands apart. He wasn't just a bodybuilder. He was a phenomenon, a force of nature condensed into a mere 5 feet 5 inches of chiseled muscle. But more than his undeniable physique, it was his voice, loud, unapologetic, and brutally honest, that truly defined him. This is the story of Lee Priest, the blonde myth, the giant killer, and the rebel who forever changed the conversation around the Iron Game. Welcome to Mass Legends.
Lee's early success was nothing short of meteoric. At 14, he placed 3rd in a men's open class, competing against adults twice and even thrice his age. By 15, he had won his first state title, and then a stunning achievement. He clinched the IFBB Mr. Australia title at 16, 17, 18, and 19 years old. His dedication was such that he was willing to make significant sacrifices. He once stated, "I was able to still see the potential I had in the bodybuilding industry.
So I gave it a shot in focusing entirely in his training and nutrition, and would take the risk by dropping out of school to becoming a full-time bodybuilder. This early commitment, abandoning traditional education for the gym, underscored his singular focus. His dedication was infectious. His own mother, inspired by his transformation, began training and competed alongside him in the couples division, making history as the world's first mother and son duo to compete on stage. His mother fondly recalled the moment. "I said to Lee, if I train hard, could I be your partner? We could do the doubles together." And he just looked, gave me this look. But with unparalleled success came unwelcome attention, and with that, his first taste of the industry's darker side. The jealousy from within the Australian Federation quickly surfaced. Lee, still a teenager, faced his first major challenge to his integrity, a failed drug test accusation. Lee recounted the bizarre experience. "I wasn't on anything yet. They said, 'You failed a drug test.' I said, 'Well, I haven't even taken anything yet.' I was crying to my mom and she was like, 'Oh, we'll pay for another one.' We paid the money, and then they said the B sample was gone missing. You will probably say that was my first screwing from the IFBB ever." This early encounter with what he perceived as corruption planted a deep seed of distrust. Despite his repeated victories, the IFBB inexplicably refused to grant him a professional card, citing his youth. Frustrated by the arbitrary age limits, Lee made a pivotal decision, one that would define the rest of his career. Speaking on his early use of performance enhancers, Lee openly stated, Once we get to 19, you'll notice when I took some here. So, just for everyone to know, I won this 3 times without gear. Yeah, up from 13 competing till 19. I hadn't taken anything yet. But, 'cause you'll notice, I'll let you know when I do take it. That's where you see the change. The transformation was dramatic. He gained 20 pounds of pure muscle in just 8 weeks. He then flew to... He's like, "What are you doing here? You're not supposed to be here. Why are you here? You're the Mr. Australia." I said, "I'm not a pro." He said, "What do you mean you're not a pro?" And that's when he got me the pro card. That's my first official screw-up, getting my pro card from an American rather than my own country. That sucked. This was Lee Priest's official entry into the big leagues, and almost immediately he began making waves. As an IFBB pro, Lee Priest quickly earned the moniker the Giant Killer. At a mere 5'4", he routinely outmuscled and outconditioned men who dwarfed him in height. His compact, dense physique was a marvel, but it was his attitude that truly set him apart. He would often quip about his unique position in the sport. "More people have had the Olympia, and I've had a lifetime ban. So I'm in a unique class. Yeah, I think you're a bunch of hypocrites." Lee's brutal honesty became legendary. He openly discussed steroid use, a taboo subject in an era of denial, much to the chagrin of the IFBB. He believed in full transparency, alienating many within the secretive world of pro bodybuilding, but endearing him to a growing legion of fans who craved authenticity. Ed Connors actually knows the small amounts of gear I was using, and yet people would rattle off these large amounts, and I'd laugh, and I'd even say that, "Why do they think I'm using so much gear?" And the small amounts I'd take, and people go, "Oh, he's got to be taking more, he's got to be taking more." I'd say that, why don't these people believe me? Does everyone take these large amounts over here that they think everybody's on it? But I never... The tension escalated. In 1994, after qualifying for both the Houston Pro and the Mr. Olympia, Lee sought permission from IFBB co-founder Joe Weider to skip Houston and focus on the Olympia. Weider agreed. However, this seemingly innocent decision led to his first major suspension from the IFBB, enforced by Wayne DeMilia, then head of the IFBB Pro Committee. Lee recounted the swift and dictatorial response. "I would have been 21. I qualified for the first Olympia, so I went to visit Joe and said, 'Look, I'm still young. I'd rather do to Mr. Olympia. Can I sit out the Houston Pro show and not do it?' He's like, 'Sure, that's fine. That's a good idea.' And because I didn't do that, I got suspended. And when I spoke to Wayne DeMilia and said, 'Look, Joe Weider said I didn't have to do it,' he goes, 'I run these shows, not Joe Weider.' I got a 12-month ban. I started a company, IFBB Pro Division Incorporated, my company. I paid taxes. It wasn't a federation. The IFBB recognized me to run pro bodybuilding. It was my company, so yeah, if I acted like a dictator at times, like Sean said, yes, I did." This was the beginning of Lee Priest's long-standing rivalry with Wayne DeMilia and the IFBB establishment. Lee was constantly battling fines and suspensions, seemingly for minor infractions that were, in his eyes, just attempts to control him. Yet he continued to place among the best in the world. The 1997 season was a testament to his prowess. He placed third in multiple Grand Prix events, but most famously he humbled the reigning mass monster Ronnie Coleman, beating him at the Ironman Pro. This was a monumental upset, a moment Ronnie Coleman himself later described as agonizing. "My most painful was, losing to, Lee Priest." "At which one?" "The Pro. The 97 Ironman Pro. He was a little guy. I was a big guy. Losing to a 5'4" guy was kind of depressing." At the 1997 Mr. Olympia, Lee placed 5th, only to be controversially relegated to 6th. These political maneuverings hardened his resolve. "I was always suspended, so I knew sometimes I'd always be held back on my placings, but that didn't bother me because I was never there to win a show, because most of my money I made was from contracts and traveling. Every time I did Olympia, I was always like, 'Look, I aim for the top 10 because back then, if you got the top 10, that qualified you for next year, so that took a bit of stress off having to qualify. So if I aim for 10th and I got 7th or 8th, that's just a bonus to me. So I never even worried about the placing really.' Even a terrifying health scare in 2001, when his left ventricular function dropped to a dangerous 40%, couldn't keep him from the gym. He defied doctors' orders and went straight from the hospital bed to his beloved weights, a testament to his insane dedication. But this dedication often came at a cost, not just to his body, but to his standing with the very organization he competed for. Lee's relentless pursuit of truth reached its peak in 2002. After winning the San Francisco Pro, he once again clashed with Wayne DeMilia, who accused him of bad publicity after Lee exposed the IFBB's dark scams in a muscle magazine. The federation's financial status was paramount, and Lee's transparency was a direct threat. Same year, tragic robbery would occur once again, whereby Kevin Levrone would be beaten by Ronnie Coleman, who had lost size and fullness during that 2002 Mr. Olympia. If there's a muscle tech athlete in there who's high paid, he suddenly wins the show. Oh, does it? It's just that bad? Yeah, used to be fucking hell. In 2003, at a highly publicized conference alongside fellow truth-tellers Kevin Levrone and Sean Ray, Lee pulled back the curtain entirely. He addressed the pervasive lack of funding for bodybuilders, the draconian dead-end contracts that forced athletes into unpaid appearances, and the exorbitant fines for non-compliance. He didn't hold back on exposing the subjective and often corrupt nature of judging.
stating bluntly, "We know what goes on." I said, "Well, you run the sport. If you know what goes on." This one judge was like, "I don't care how such and such looks. I always put him first because she was sleeping with him." I said, "She shouldn't be on the judging panel." Simple as that. I said, "You know she's doing it, so have her judge no way." Science is science. He exposed that Asul, a lower-placing athlete, was paid more than him, and in an act of pure defiance and generosity, even offered to share his own prize money with those who didn't receive any. A powerful, selfless act that publicly shamed the Federation. Science is science. When you have a show like the Olympia, where people have to qualify to be here, and you have the guy who came 15th, 16th, training just as hard as me, and I get money and he doesn't, I just don't see it's fair. So if I'm placing in the money, yes, I will give them some of my prize money. Science is science. His decision to compete in the rival Pro Division Inc. PDI shows in 2006, directly challenging the IFBB's exclusivity clause, was the final straw. What began as a 2-year suspension escalated. When he argued, it reportedly became longer. When he didn't immediately return to competition after an arm injury and the tragic death of his beloved grandfather in 2008, the IFBB decided he wasn't working for his reinstated pro card. Recounting the ultimate blow, Lee stated, "So, 06 was my last IBB show. In 10, I got the lifetime suspension, and then I wasn't going to compete anymore after my grandfather passed away. So for 7 years, I didn't do anything. And then they said, okay, now he's suspended for life. So I'm like, I don't give a f***." In 2010, Lee Priest was officially banned for life from the IFBB. He was an outcast. Other athletes fearing similar fates distanced themselves from him. Jay Cutler, the reigning Mr. Olympia, reportedly refused to be seen with a banned athlete to protect his own image. This demonstrated the pervasive rat race the IFBB had created, where association with dissent could cost careers. Lee himself spoke to the chilling effect this had, stating, "Lee shouldn't step foot in the IFBB Federation, which made Lee Priest an outcast of bodybuilders associated to the IFBB, to an extent whereby Jay Cutler himself would refuse to be seen with Lee Priest, quote-unquote, banned athlete, as that could have ruined Jay Cutler's image, which showed how bad the Federation had gotten the athletes in a rat race. But the ban, in a strange twist of fate, also set him free. Free from the politics, the forced smiles, and the endless restrictions. After the lifetime ban from the IFBB, many expected Lee Priest to fade into obscurity, silenced by the very organization he so openly defied. But that was never Lee's style. Instead, he embraced his new freedom, no longer beholden to contracts, rules, or the stifling political games. Now we news the people his partners. In 2013, at 42 years old, and after years away, a new opportunity arose with the NABBA Mr. Universe. Now, Hodering Shuff away too, someone asked me what I'd be interested in doing the Mr. Universe. I'm like, well, bleep, I had 7 years off. If I go to do the universe and I don't do well, even if I look great, oh, you're bleep, washed up loser. I was 42 at the time. I'm like, oh, this could end bad, but I went over and won to Mr. Universe. That's it, yeah. So that was pretty good. Now, Lee, someone called the January management here Lee Priest. It was a triumphant comeback, a powerful statement that his spirit and physique remained unbroken, untainted by the IFBB's ban. He was later inducted into the NABBA Hall of Fame, and in a symbolic return to his roots, the Venice Beach Hall of Fame, receiving a bronze plaque at the legendary Muscle Beach. In a fall physical profit, it's time to take a hard rest, has a level manager from his nose, where we're talking the house and the nose own performance parts of the inside. Today, Lee Priest remains the same brutal, honest, blonde myth. He has no regrets about his past transparency or the consequences. His life's journey, from a bullied child to a bodybuilding prodigy, a giant killer, and finally an industry outcast, has come full circle. He chose self-worth over silence, authenticity over accolades. I think it's just 'cause I've always been open that way. My mom can tell you from a young age I've always asked why, nothing was ever, lead, this is the way. I'd always question why. When I was young, my dad used to play the organ at the cathedral on the church, and we were really church family, but yet my mom could tell you every Sunday I was kicked out of Sunday school because I'd be questioning, how could Mary be a virgin? How could a guy live in the belly of a whale? I said from a young age, that's always been my personality, that I'd want to know why. If you tell me something, I want to know why it's that way, and why does it have to be that way? Or if someone says it can't change, I want to know why can't it change? Why can't we make change to this? Lee Priest's story is more than a tale of muscle and controversy. It's a testament to the power of individuality in a world that often demands conformity. He may not have an Olympia title, but he has something arguably more valuable, an unblemished record